So game 1 here of a PvZ, and we are getting things going on Frost. It's the Season 1 map pool because all the qualifiers were done in Season 1. And let's get in by introducing the two players. Spawning to the bottom right hand position, we have the blue Zerg, none other than HaNfy. His opponent to the top right, the red Protoss player representing Alien Invasion, we have Patience. PvZ, great matchup, and it's going to be a lot to see how these two play it through. Many Protoss players opting for aggressive 2-base builds against Zerg, and on Frost it's not a bad choice. However, in these spawn positions, the third that's most likely going to get taken by HaNfy, assuming he scouts early, will be the one to the left here, which is arguably a bit harder to be aggressive against. If it's the base in the middle here, it's a lot easier. Some builds which are really great at the moment are obviously Immortal Sentry plays are very popular still. Bit of a fallout on the Mass Zealot play, but still Gateway Expands kind of leading the charge, and on Frost they are a bit less common because the natural is relatively simple to wall off if you want to. And Patience, just gate expanding, doesn't have any problems with that. HaNfy may go hatch pull, but blindly doing that without knowing where your opponent is spawning is a bit of a risky move. However, it's a risky move that he feels comfortable to take. Going to be moving down to the left here, kind of assuming that his opponent isn't spawning in this cross position. Moving that Overlord over, but he's expanded before the Overlord's even got there, so just kind of assuming, please let him not be in the bottom left, please let him not be in the bottom left. And this has worked out really well for HaNfy. It's pretty much the best response you can get to a gate expand as a Zerg is to go hatch pull. Meanwhile, Patience, adding in the double gases, this immediately says it's not going to be the big Zealot plays which some Protoss players go for. And the reason we know that is because the gas is coming out for more tech-based stuff. Still on the cards though is a wide array of possibilities. Anything from Immortal Sentries, Stargates, hey, we could even be seeing a Dark Shrine. Maybe just a quick third base. All of them are viable potential builds Patience could be coming out with. His Cybercore nearly done, and once this gas starts trickling through, it's when we'll get a better indicator of where Patience is going to want to start spending that. HaNfy, he's got his spawning pool done now, beginning the Queen production for those injects. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see him go up to 4 queens rather than just 1 per hatch, just so he's got some creep spread coming through, because he's going to want to be joining up this natural and third as soon as possible, just so he can get into a good defensive spot. And by getting more creep tumors active, it makes you a bit more defendable from early gateway pressure, simply because you're not going to have things like roach speed done anytime soon when you have gone hatch pull, nor will you likely have hydras very quickly. So first indicator of where Patience is going to be going with this, as he chucks down a forge, interestingly also adding in the Stargate though. This could be for some harassment. Oracle, Phoenix and Void Rays all possible. Oracle and Phoenix generally more commonly seen, but Void Rays are great if you want to be going into the mid game with a Void Ray heavy composition. It's something which a lot of Protoss players have recently started doing. Not even that recently, but they have done quite a lot with. But since we're seeing that +1 ground weapons come through, I'm not certain that's what we'll be getting, because generally if you see a good number of Void Rays come out, it's alongside some Immortals as well, just as this massive roach busting force. So production of Phoenix going to get started up, and this provides Patience with 2 advantages. Firstly, map control. Phoenix knock out Overlords very easily and prevent Patience getting scouted out. Admittedly he's been seen already, but just as the Phoenix were coming, the Overlord going to die, and any further ones on the map are just having to retreat away to safety. Secondly, the Phoenix give harassment potential. 100 minerals and a lava about to go down the drain right now for HaNfy. Will supply block him quite heavily as he doesn't have another Overlord in production yet. And with this, already Patience getting a bit of a lead. But also, There's harassment of the drone line possible, depending on when these spores come down. Possible potential to start harassing up against the queens if they move too far out of position. What's really cool to see though, is we've now got patience starting up the +1 air weapons. Not something that you frequently encounter, but can be a nightmare to deal with, especially if you start getting in a lot more of these Phoenix. With that +1 they deal some great damage and will easily start picking off queens as they're about. So HaNfy, he's adding in a good number of spores. There's actually 2 now at each base, 1 in the main though. And this means that his queens have got plenty of room to stay very safe and secure. If the queens are out of position though, such as this one, a lift can quickly come through and take them out. But until there's 4 Phoenix, at least the queen can't die to a single lift. May not even die to this one as the Phoenix didn't engage immediately. Should be quite close. But yep, 1 HP survives. No Phoenix went down though. Queen dies from the second lift, but reduces the energy on these Phoenix fractionally. Hydra Den also on its way, so Roach Hydra composition. Actually, Hydra Ling composition coming down from HaNfy. Meanwhile, if we take a look at what Patience is doing, he's adding in a couple of Immortals. So this is a very power heavy unit. The composition relies on some harassment going nicely, but also it's not an all-in. We've got the Robotics Bay coming through, so we are going up into Colossus Tech, and that's going to take a while to get out. For the most part, Patience looking to continue on harassment with these Phoenix that will shortly have +1 air weapons, just to prevent too many bold moves from HaNfy. HaNfy's really upping the Hydra count though. He's got 9 in production at the moment, and with these spores it's very difficult for these Phoenix to achieve very much. The Queen's just hugging up, and now seeing the Hydralisks. If there's a couple exposed on their own, they can get lifted and picked off fast. But all while they're grouped together, the Phoenix would just die far too quickly with any lift play. Third base now coming through for Patience. Gonna get scouted pretty much at the earliest point by HaNfy now. He knows that it's gonna be coming. And in response, HaNfy starts constructing his 4th. He's also getting down the Spire. Now, the Spire is a great choice because for a start, I don't believe he's actually seen the Robotics Bay. He does now see it. So for a start, he's got those Corruptors to use against the Colossi, which is obviously fantastic. Secondly, if he gets some Corruptors out, he's got them to use against the Phoenix. Another great way to shut down a lot of what Patience is doing. Now the one concern I have for Patience, and it is the kind of drawback of going for this heavy gas build, the Immortals, the Phoenix, the Colossi, the fast tech and upgrades, is that the support for these units is basically non-existent. There's 1 Sentry and 4 Zealots. That's it. Nothing else. Only the Phoenix and the high-tech units. And while the Colossi and Immortals are great, without the gateway support there to zone out most of the Zerg forces, they can get very exposed. Especially against a Ling Hydra force. 1 Colossus isn't enough to scare it away, but the second one about to pop out, and that should prevent just pure Ling Hydra from doing too much. Once the Corruptors come in though, that gets a lot more fun. There's even a couple of Mutalisks on their way through as well, as the Void Ray had been scouted. That's the downfall of Corruptors, is that the Void Rays are going to do very well against them, and just start shredding through them because they're prismatic alignment, and of course Corruptors being armoured. Twilight Council on its way. This is going to allow the 2-2 upgrades to get started by Patience, who's already achieved 1-1. Over on the side of HaNfy though, he's adding in the +1 melee attack, which is going to give a big damage boost to his Zerglings, and also to Ultras if late game he decides to go for that. 5th base now getting started as well, but Patience moving across the map. He's not got any knowledge of the 4th, let alone the 5th yet, so isn't going to be gunning for that, but can probably assume it'll be on its way. For now though, the Mutalisks, all 3 of them, getting a couple of worker kills, and with a good group of Corruptors guarding them, these Phoenix, which in theory should be the counter to these Mutalisks, aren't going to be able to get in range without taking some quite hefty losses on their side. So Patience, staying back, staying defensive, adding in 2 additional Stargates now. Also having to use that Photon Overcharge. The Void Rays here as well, going to help those Corruptors engage a bit better. The Mutalisks getting up close and personal with the Phoenix, and that is actually where the Mutas start trading well in addition to the Corruptors, because the advantage Phoenix have up against the Mutalisks comes in their ability to kite, their ability to stay out of range of the Mutas and just slowly pick them apart. If the Mutas get up close though, the bouncing attacks just deal very well with the Phoenix and the trades don't go as favourably, especially when there's some Corruptors in the mix too. So a good number of spines and spores coming down at every expansion from HaNfy. A wise move by him there, just preventing any small warp-ins or any small run-bys from doing too much damage, but big engagement coming through at the third base of Patience. The Corruptors not able to deal with those Colossi quickly because there's just so much air there, and as a result, Patience takes an overwhelming victory in that engagement. Losses, without even looking, I know heavily favoured Patience there, and that was a bit of a slaughterhouse for the Zerg, and it's all because of these three Colossi. They weren't taken down, and as such, Patience just demolished the very squishy Ling Hydra composition of HaNfy. Odd Overlord getting picked off here and there, but HaNfy, he knows that he's in danger now. Upgrade-wise, he's down a bit, but the Corruptors able to close up the distance to the Colossi now. One goes down. The Phoenix coming in to support. Where are the Voidways? Lagging a bit behind, and this means that with so many Corruptors, the Colossi have to be very careful. Stalkers on the ground have pretty much all been taken out. Voidways trying to get some more damage done, but there's just so many Corruptors here that the Colossi are going to fall. And HaNfy seems to have alleviated the immediate pressure, because all while you've got those Colossi out, you can continue to push through. Patience is going to continue with this pressure, minus the Colossi, but it's a lot easier to deal with this now, especially with the Ling Hydra, without that splash damage from the Thermal Lancers. The few Zealots that are at the front, getting beaten down by some Lings, but coming off on top thanks to a Time Warp from the Mothership Core. The Corruptors doing a good job of forcing back all of those Phoenix, but HaNfy just doesn't have enough stuff to defend this. Patience barreling through purely with the numbers advantage. The Immortals getting some good damage done, drones are getting pulled, and that is always a desperation move from Zerg. Not something that you ever really want to happen. The final few Corruptors getting killed. Both of those Immortals still up, and the pressure continuing on. The natural base of HaNfy soon to go down, and he's just buying his time. He knows that this hatch is going to die, but accepting that to allow him time to get out more Hydras and more Lings, and to form actually a critical mass of units that he's hoping will allow him to trade well. One of the Immortals falls, but in come those Phoenix, lifting the Hydralisks as they trickle through, picking them off very quickly, and things really swinging into Patience's favour now. He's up over double the army supply of his opponent. He's up by 20 odd workers, and that number is only going more and more in his favour. Drones being evacuated, and sure, HaNfy does have these additional bases, but his Hydra Den hasn't actually yet been taken out, but it's about to, so he's building another one in preparation for that. The spawning pool about to go down as well. With the Immortal helping, it's going to be a very quick job, and this is just taking out any ability for HaNfy to produce a defensive force. Behind this, Patience, he's just doing his thing. He's adding in some Colossi. They're actually rallied across the map at the moment, so are going to be joining the fight. He's also added in the Templar Archives, so High Templar are a possibility now, as well as some Archons. And HaNfy, he loses his main, natural, and third, and has only a shambles of units quickly grabbed together to try and defend. The Colossi going to be able to shred through this Ling Hydra force, and without the Spire, no Corruptors are coming to the rescue. Good number of spines from HaNfy, who is valiantly holding on against this relentless onslaught from Patience. But as this game goes on, while there isn't the Spire, the Colossi are going to rule supreme. And HaNfy, unfortunately for him, doesn't have a response to that. Ling Hydra is great against gateway units, great against air units, great against Immortals. But Colossi or High Templars with Storm, a different story. It's a weak army that's high in DPS, and splash damage really counters that. The Colossi as well can pick off the spine crawlers and static defense, outranging it, further helping the situation. Being a bit too brave there, one getting very low on HP, but able to back away to safety. And this is really where Patience just has to slowly and steadily push in. HaNfy still producing more Hydras, but the Phoenix come in, the Zealots closing up the gap. The 4th base now gets taken out, and GG comes. Patience takes game number 1 of this best of 3.